All right, let's talk about a superpower for your website. What if I told you that you could get more sales, more signups, and more leads from the exact same amount of traffic you have right now? Yep, it's not about spending more money on ads. It's all about making your website work a whole lot smarter. Let's dive in. So, does this sound familiar? You've put in all this work. You're getting people to your website. The traffic numbers look pretty good, but the sales, the signups, they're just not happening. It can honestly feel like you're pouring water into a bucket full of holes. All that valuable attention just slips right through the cracks. And you know what? That leaky bucket idea is the perfect way to think about this. You're pouring all these visitors in at the top, but somewhere along the way, they're leaking out. Maybe the checkout is confusing, maybe a button is hard to find, whatever it is, they're gone before they can become customers. But the good news? We can patch those leaks. The set of tools we use to fix that leaky bucket is called conversion rate optimization, or as you'll hear it called all the time, CRO. It's basically the science, and a little bit of art, of turning more of your visitors into actual paying customers. Now, the most important word on this screen is systematic. CRO isn't about guesswork. It's not about changing your button color to green because you feel like it might work. It's a real process of using data to figure out how people actually use your site and then making smart, strategic changes to help them do what you want them to do, whether that's buy a product or sign up for a newsletter. So, why even bother with all this? Why does CRO matter so much? Well, because when you start patching those leaks, it doesn't just solve a problem, it unlocks some seriously incredible benefits for your entire business. And what's really cool is how all of these things feed into each other. It's like a positive feedback loop. You improve the user experience, which makes your visitors happier. Happier visitors are way more likely to convert, which means more revenue and a much better return on what you spent on marketing in the first place. And through it all, you're learning exactly what your customers want, which gives you a huge advantage over the competition. See, it all connects. Okay, so how in the world do we find these leaks in the first place? We've got to start with a full diagnosis. Think of it like a health checkup for your website, or what we call an audit. This is where we put on our detective hats and start looking for clues. Seriously, think of this audit as your treasure map. It's this deep dive that points you directly to the problem spots. So instead of just randomly changing things and hoping for the best, the audit gives you a clear, prioritized plan. It tells you exactly what to fix first to get the biggest bang for your buck. And the process itself just makes sense. First, you have to define your goals. What do you want people to do? Then you dig into the data to see what's actually happening on the site. From there, you look at the user experience to figure out why it's happening. And finally, you get some real feedback from real users to make sure you're on the right track before you build your final action plan. So, let's say your audit has found a potential leak. How do you know which patch is going to work the best? Well, you don't guess, you test. And the absolute gold standard for testing on the web is something called A/B testing. And this breaks it down perfectly. A/B testing is just a simple but super powerful experiment. You take your original page, that's version A, the control, then you create a second version, version B, the variant, with one and only one specific change, maybe a different headline, maybe a new image. Then you show each version to a different group of random visitors and just see which one wins. And the results? They can be absolutely mind-blowing. Just look at this example. By simply changing the text on a button from a boring sign-up to a value-packed Get Your Free Guide, the conversion rate almost doubled. Why? Because it stops talking about what the user has to do and starts talking about what the user is going to get. That's the power of testing right there. A tiny data-backed change can lead to a massive win. So what kind of things can you actually test on your site? Oh, almost anything. Test your headlines to see what grabs more attention. Play around with the words, the colors, the placement of your buttons, your calls to action. Try different photos of videos. See what happens if you remove a few fields from a form. You can even test a completely different page layout. Every single test teaches you something new. And all of this brings us to a really critical point. CRO is not a one-time project. It's not a quick fix. It's a completely different way of thinking. It's a continuous cycle of improvement. This right here, this is the engine that drives optimization. You run an audit to find opportunities. You run a test to see if your idea is right. You learn from the data. Whether you win or you lose, you always learn something. And then you do it all over again. You just keep repeating the cycle, making your website a little bit better every single time. And the reason it has to be a continuous process is simple. Your customers are always changing. The way people use the internet is always changing. As the source material puts it so well, regular testing makes sure your website doesn't just get effective, it stays effective. So I'll leave you with this final thought, a little challenge. You don't need to go and redesign your whole website tomorrow. Just start with one thing. What's the one tiny change you could test on your site right now, today, to start patching those leaks and unlocking its hidden potential? Thanks for tuning in.